boys, UFC 319 DDP versus Chimaev, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I got a good feeling about this card. I think we're about to go. I think we're about to ace this card. I'm not gonna lie. The past two cards back to back, we only got 3 wrong in both those cards combined, and I feel like today's the day we hit the ace. With that being said, we are going to run through every single fight on this card, early prelims, and that main event, and that main card and main event slot. And I'm going to give you guys my rare predictions on who I think is going to win and how. Let's begin. There's been a few short notice entries and a late replacement in this card, but again, we're still going to ace it. With that being said, a fight that just recently got added, honestly, a few hours ago. Early prelims, flyweight division, Alibi versus Joseph Morales. With that being said, I'm not breaking this fight down. You know, the only thing I have to say is Joseph Morales hasn't fought in almost 3 years. I'm going Alibi round 1 KO. I ain't breaking this shit down. It got added an hour ago, and again, Morales hasn't fought in almost 3 years. Let's move down. Women's flyweight division. Karine Silva taking on a short notice replacement in Dion Barboza. Now, Silva is a good submission threat with some good Darce chokes, knee bars, guillotine. She has a good ground game with some nice transitions, good takedown. She has a good striking output and targets the leg a lot with some decent accuracy with improved pace. Her striking defense is pretty bad with no real head movement, as well as her takedown defense is just as bad. And with a pretty bad gas tank, often fading at the end of round 2. Where Barboza, a good grappler, good judo, has a good judo background, and she's a fast striker. She's able to mix in some takedowns if she needs to. That being said, Barboza is going to be better on the feet, but on the ground, Silva is going to be night and day better than Barboza. Plus, it's a short notice replacement fight for Barboza. I don't like that either. Classic 29-28 decision win for Silva. Let's keep moving down, though, into those prelims. Middleweight division, Bryan Battle taking on Nursulton Ruziboev. Bryan Battle, a powerful striker with some submission threats here and there, but is more known for his striking. He has the power to pretty much finish anybody in this division with some good volume, good accuracy. His striking defense is okay, and he has good fight IQ, able to stay composed under pressure. He typically has a reach advantage at 77 inches, but his takedowns aren't the strongest, as well as he can be countered in the striking exchanges, and he can struggle against someone who's a pressure-heavy wrestler, where Ruziboev is a good grappler with a aggressive fighting style and, decent wrestling. It's nothing crazy. You look at this dude and you expect him to have some crazy wrestling. He has decent striking with some good power, and he can get a KO or a sub here. He has that kind of power and submission threats. He uses his reach pretty good. He's a decently big middleweight, and his fighting style can leave him open to counters or takedowns, but I don't think, a jump up into middleweight is a good look for Bryan Battle. This dude is coming off a razor-close fight to Randy Brown. I don't think moving up to middleweight when you're already not the biggest welterweight is going to be a good idea. Ruziboev is a big middleweight, and I think he's going to be way bigger, way stronger than Bryan Battle, and I think it's either going to be a decision, but I honestly think the weight and just how much bigger and stronger Ruziboev is going to play huge in this fight. I'm going round 2, ground and pound TKO. I think Ruziboev is going to get Battle on the ground, land some nasty ground and pound. Let's keep moving down, though. Lightweight division, Edson, Barboza, Drakkar, Klose. Now, Barboza, a UFC vet and one of the better unks that we have in the UFC, being, one of the best kickboxers in UFC history with some explosive leg kicks, some switch kicks, wheel kicks, and back. And the best part about all of those kicks is that he doesn't have this crazy, telegraph setup. He has dangerous body shots, nice tight hooks, and decent wrestling defense and good takedown defense. He can struggle under pressure because it gets rid of his kicking game, as well as he has no real grappling at all. And as he ages, he becomes easier and easier to rock, where Drakkar Klose is a well-rounded, good striker, good accuracy, volume, good takedown defense, has cardio to go all 3 rounds. He's another one of these UFC unks and a vet, to be honest, but he struggles against good strikers who can counter him, as well as he struggles to finish his opponent, often throwing away the moment he had. It's a classic unk versus unk type of fight. And Barboza is just better. The only thing I can think of is Klose might have the better cardio, but Barboza is gonna... I'm looking at this fight and I just see it perfectly. Round 2, head kick KO Edson Barboza. Mark my words. Moving down, also in that lightweight division, Chase Hooper, Alexander Hernandez. Hooper, a very good grappler with some good BJJ and typically has a reach advantage in his fight. And he's also pretty tall for the division. He's also shown huge improvements in his strikings and in his takedowns in general, but his striking defense is still a little concerning, where Hernandez is a well-rounded and one of these athletic fighters, but is one of the most inconsistent fighters on the roster, to be honest. He has decent wrestling, power, speed, but struggles to put it all together. And I see Chase Hooper taking down Hernandez and getting that submission. It won't, I think Chase Hooper is going to be locked in this camp. He ain't going to be gooning as much. It's going to be round 2, rear naked choke. Mark my words. Let's keep moving down, though, to the women's strawweight division. Jéssica Andrade, Loopy Godinez. Andrade is a former world champion and has a bully-like style with a crazy physique. You look at her, definitely look like she's on the sauce. Low-key looks like she should be in the men's division, but she has good pressure and aggression for the weight class, but she lacks any real technique or skill, to be honest, and pretty much gets out-techniqued by every single one of her opponents with better skills. Because of her strength, she's good at stopping wrestlers and good at having an effective grappling because of her just pure strength rather than her technique. Her aggressive style can leave her to be countered and KO like we saw in one of her previous fights. And, Loopy Godinez is a well-rounded and, technical fighter. Has some non-stop striking. Her grappling defense is definitely the weakest part of her game, but her fight IQ is definitely the worst and has cost her wins in the past. But at the end of the day, I want to say that, Loopy Godinez is gonna win here, and that's what I'm gonna pick. But there's just a little thought in the back of my head that Loopy Godinez is borderline retarded and has some of the worst fight IQ in the sport, and we've seen it countless times where she's winning the fight, but her fight IQ costs her important rounds, important key moments in the fights. I'm gonna say that I don't know, you can't fix stupid sometimes. But with that being said, Andrade is not that good either. With that being said, Loopy Godinez, 29-28, classic women's MMA fight. I could see Andrade... I don't even know if I can see Andrade catching Godinez. She's too technical. With that being said, Loopy Godinez, 29-28. Let's move down to the middleweight division. The boy GM3 taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. I hate trying to pronounce that dude's name. With that being said, though, GM3, another UFC vet. They got countless vets on this. They got countless vets, countless, unks on this card. I swear half of the card is nothing but unks. But with that being said, he has some of the best grappling in the sport. He's always a submission threat. However, his chin is extremely questionable. He isn't, the best on the feet. He can get outstruck, where Michal, a good powerful striker with fast hands and a good aggressive forward pressure. His grappling and wrestling are definitely the biggest holes in his game that, have got him in trouble in the past, but he also tends to fade as the fight goes on. And to be honest, if Kevin Holland can take down Oleksiejczuk, so can GM3. And I say GM3 is getting that boy to the ground and submitting him. GM3, it takes honestly, he's like a top 15 gatekeeper in my opinion. If you're not going to make it to, if I can't see you being, a threat in the top 15 or even in the conversation of being top 15, I don't think Michal is, to be honest. I don't think he's going to be in the top 15. I'm going GM3, round 2 submission, probably rear naked choke. With that being said, is this the main event of these prelims? It is. Lightweight division, Unk versus Unk. Bobby Green, Diego Ferreira. Bobby Green, again, another vet, another unk in the UFC. He has some powerful, high-volume striking, some underrated defense and wrestling. He's also borderline 40 years old. He's been finished in his last few fights, so who knows when the breaking point's going to be, when he's just completely washed. And Ferreira, not any better. 40 years old, a well-rounded fighter with good BJJ, good striking, some decent power. His takedown defense isn't the best, but his takedown offense isn't the best, but his takedown defense is okay. Again, another Unk versus Unk type of fight. Bobby is just... This dude's been slept back-to-back, hasn't he? You know, he's coming off... For sure, he's lost his last fight by a brutal knockout by Roofy. So he's coming off a knockout here. It's a close fight. I just can't trust Bobby to not get chinned after he's been chinned in his last few fights. Round 2 KO Diego Ferreira. Let's move down. Main card now. Flyweight division. Tim Elliott, Kai Asakura. Elliott is a good grappler, has some good submission games. He's dangerous with some guillotines, dart chokes, anacondas, arm triangles, and he likes to get into a scrap to find some scrambles to get the fight to the ground, where he has a decent pace. He's an Unk in the UFC, an Unk at flyweight, which is concerning because he gets hit clean a lot due to his striking defense and lack of head movement. His fight IQ isn't much better, having pretty bad decision making at times, and at least he's using the new meta in the UFC of cheating a lot. This dude loves to grab gloves. He loves to fence grab, but his cardio is slowly going downhill, and he's becoming a huge decision merchant as he gets older, where Akura is an explosive striker with good knees, knockout power, and he has a high finishing rate. He can get it done with his hands, with his kicks, with his knees. He has decent takedown defense, but like in the Pantoja fight, he can struggle under pressure, as well as his head movement, non-existent. And we don't really know much about his cardio, considering the only time we saw him at flyweight in the UFC was against Pantoja, you know? And at the end of the day, Tim is just too old out here. He gets hit quite easily. And I just think Kai Asakura is going to be too fast and too powerful for him. I'm seeing a crazy highlight reel round 1 flying knee KO here. Let's move down to middleweight though. Middleweight, Gerald Cannonier, MVP. Cannonier, a powerful and incredibly dangerous fighter who can switch between southpaw and orthodox pretty easily. He can throw kicks from both sides. He has good grappling defense and is just all around very dangerous, where MVP is a very high-level striker with, you know, this unique karate bouncing style. He can cover a distance stupidly fast, but he isn't the youngest guy in the division, 37. Cannonier isn't any younger, although he is getting older. You know, MVP, his speed, his chin, it seems to be holding up. And Page, in my opinion, will only lose against the absolute elite in middleweight and welterweight. And his footwork, his in and out style is going to be way too hard for Cannonier to figure out where he is. I think we're going to see another schooling for MVP. I think he's going to make it look easy out there against Cannonier. I'm going 30-27, him winning every single round, and Cannonier struggling to find MVP like majority of MVP's opponents do. Let's get into this featured fight. Yeah. Welterweight division. Geoff Neal, Carlos Prates. Neal is a powerful striker with some good explosive KO power, with a dangerous left cross, some good body kicks, good accuracy, footwork, strong takedown defense. His volume is honestly too little and too late at sometimes, and is, you know, all things considered, pretty one-dimensional, as well as his cardio tends to dip into around the second round, you know. Prates, on the other hand, is a dangerous, very precise striker with big power, good range, good control. He's very light on his feet. He has a diverse striking arsenal, decent takedown defense, and hasn't fought any high-level grapplers. And his cardio is good, but still fairly unknown. You know, a lot of people think because he's a chain smoker, he's gonna have a 1-round cardio. It's definitely more than 1 round. We saw him go 5 rounds against Gary, and you know, it's a decent cardio. But with that being said, it's a close fight. Prates is the better striker in my opinion, and just will be faster, and you know, he'll use his range control a lot better than Geoff Neal. I think he's gonna tag up Geoff Neal, and I think he's putting out Geoff Neal similar to how he did Trevin Giles, around like that type of knockout. Round 2 KO. With that being said, let's get into that co-main event. Honestly, like a bullshit co-main event. It is what it is. Featherweight division. Lerone Murphy, Ron Pico. Now, Lerone Murphy is a good striker with some decent power, good footwork, and Doesn't have the best takedown defense in the world, but he won't just lie there. He will scramble to try to make his way back up onto the feet. Where Aaron Pico is a well-rounded fighter. With, you know, he's a former U.S. Olympic medalist with some great wrestling, good powerful striking, grappling, and does have some good KO power, dangerous submission threats like some good rear naked chokes, some anaconda chokes. He has good fight IQ, but sometimes he can be overly aggressive, and at the end of the day, we just don't know how he's gonna perform against elite level fighters. And I'm falling into the hype once again. I did the same thing with Patchy Mix. I did the same thing with fucking Pitbull, and I'm doing it again with Aaron. It's unknown what could happen here, but I could see a KO here for Pico. Going 29-28 decision. Pico losing the last round, getting round 1 and 2. Move down to the main event though. Middleweight division. The title's on the line. DDP, Chimaev. DDP is always, you know, called this very sloppy bad fighter, but his style is working, even though he often swings wildly and relies on his pure strength and, you know, heart, cardio, and power in his hands. He's a hard style to fight. That being said, Chimaev might just be the best wrestler we've ever seen in the UFC, with a dominant ground control and dangerous submission threats, dangerous ground and pound. He uses his chain wrestling to suffocate his opponents, and with an early relentless pace, he has good striking, good accuracy, volume with, you know, okay defense, and the only real hole in this dude's game is that cardio. I mean, I guess you could say the striking defense and him being too aggressive, but the cardio is that biggest hole in his game. But with that being said, he's with this new camp. It looks like that's all he's been doing is working, and they're making him have this 5-round cardio, this relentless cardio pace. I think the new camp will show, but I don't think he'll need it. We're getting a round 1 dominant rear naked choke submission here for Chimaev, and I'm up here saying, you know, if he doesn't get it done in round 1 or halfway through round 2, he's cooked. No, I think again he's gonna have 5-round cardio. I think the camp he's in now is very good. They're pushing this dude to have great cardio. I think he could win by a decision here too. I'm not gonna say he can't, but I think we're just seeing a dominant run him over, take the back, submit him type of win for Chimaev. And I think DDP goes out cold here. I don't think he taps. I think Chimaev puts DDP to sleep, to be honest. That's my prediction. Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think? Who do you have in that main event? And again, I'm also going to be doing the rare locks of UFC 319 here pretty soon. So if you have any rare locks, put them in the comments below. With that being said, thank you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I will see you guys in my next video.